The car next to me is probably one of the most interesting design choices available on the crossover SUV markets. This week, I've been driving around in this 2023 Kia Soul GT Limited line, and today I'm going to take you on a full tour and show you everything you need to know if you're in the market for one of these vehicles. So as usual, let's start with the trim. This is the GT Limited, so that means it's fully loaded. It doesn't come in all-wheel drive. There's only the front-wheel drive, unfortunately. It's a little bit better looking design than the EX, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. It's got some of the nicer tires as well. Everything's just nicer on the fully loaded version of this car. So let's talk about some of the key features or the key safety features. It comes with pretty much all the key safety features you need, like blind spot detection, forward collision warning, assist, and your rear cross traffic alert. And also you have smart cruise control on this as well, which is pretty useful. So taking a look under the hood, it's got a 2-liter 4-cylinder engine with a multi-point injection system, and it makes 147 horsepower and 132 pound-feet of torque. And that is the same engine for every single Kia Soul trim this year. I hate to be the one to say it, but with not even a turbocharged engine for the top model, and the one that costs the most at around $30,000 Canadian, it's kind of left this Kia Soul just a little bit soulless. So as always, let's take a look at the front first. Bear with me, it is very windy out here today. It's winter, and I hate it, I can't stand it either, but let's take a look at the front. It's very Range Rover inspired, I'll say. I kind of get big Range Rover vibes from it. You got a nice big front facade here, and it kind of, it's changed over the years, the front of the Kia anyways. You got the new Kia logo, which I love, by the way. The old one wasn't the best looking. I think we can all agree on that. I like the daytime running LEDs here too. These vents are fake, as usual, like we're used to seeing on the cars as well. But super nice front end. It's wide, but it doesn't drive like it's wide, so that's nice to see too. It's just nice, and there's no light bar. It would have been cool, little cool to see a light bar, but you know what, I'll take it for what it is. It's a cool sporty front end, and it's the best front end that Kia offers for the 2023 Kia Soul. Okay, all right, so onto the side profile of the car, and I think this is where you're going to see the most personality come out of the car. This is where people will have their things to say about it. Some people will call it a shoebox, whatever you want. To me, I don't really have too much of an issue with it. It looks like a crossover SUV. It's an interesting design. We'll talk a little bit more about my thoughts on the interesting design anyways. It's got nice tires, a little bit of chrome on the bottom here. This car is really dirty. There's nothing I can do about it. It's the winter. You're gonna have to bear with me there too. But you got nice chrome on the bottom here. This is the only trim that you have that on. You have your nice sporty looking tires as well. They're 18-inch tires with really nice rims. This is, again, the best rims you can get on this trim. I find this whole trim as a whole, and you'll see as we get to the back, is the nicest one you can get. So I recommend going for it if you have the budget. Again, 30 to 31,000, really good price point for the market that this car is aiming for. So that's really great to see. Let's take a look at the back, and then we'll go in the interior. Moving right on to the back of the car, this is where it's taken the most winter beating. It's absolutely disgusting, and no matter how many times we try to clean it, it's winter. Again, can't control that. But really nice back end. It's like kind of flat, but not really. It's like, it's weird. It's probably the most strange design in the back here that you find on this Kia Soul, with the interesting tail lights and everything else like that. It's just interesting. That's basically what I'm going to say. It's interesting, and it does have personality. You got your one single exhaust pipe here. It's actually single, but it's actually split into two that I'm noticing right now, so that's nice. It's interesting. Again, it's right in the middle, not split on the side. It's cool. And you got your little GT line badges here as well. If I open the trunk now, this is where I was kind of surprised. I felt like there would be more room, but I guess it makes sense with the overall compactness of the car. You got enough room here, and it's also, you got a lot of height here, so you can fit kind of taller things too. Fold down the seats, and you have a lot more room than you probably even need. So really nice. You got a Harman Kardon sound speaker right in the back here, so it's nice to have a speaker. You don't usually find that. So super nice back end. Let's take a look at the interior now. So on the interior now of the 2023 Kia Soul, this is where it shows its personality again, and it's not, I can't really call it boring, because this whole car is just not boring at all. It's interesting because the outside's kind of boxy, and then the inside you find a lot of circles. And I'm not just talking about the steering wheel. I'm talking about this 10.25-inch infotainment display that has a lot of features, navigation, anything that you would expect from the top model of a Kia vehicle, well, you're getting in this Kia Soul. And I like that a lot, the fact that they didn't really skip out on that. They maybe skipped out on the powertrain, but they didn't skip out on the interior, and I'm going to show you everything there is. So we got dual zone climate control, very nice. Heated and ventilated seats for $30,000. Let me remind you again that that's the price we're in. Heated steering wheel. This is the pretty much so I've had the Volkswagen and the Mercedes, no heated steering wheel. Kia Soul, heated steering wheel. They've just smashed the competition for me with that heated steering wheel. Very nice. You got your start button here, which is nice. The shifter feels really good. Nice quality, nice ergonomic feel when I sit in the seat. The steering wheel is a D-cut. You also have your GT line thing. I really like that little touch that it tells you that you've spent the money on a GT line Kia Soul and that you have it. You've got very nice speakers that are kind of like right next to the vents that are cool. These red accents on the doors that light up at night. I don't know if it's doing it now. It's trying to, but you probably won't be able to see it. And it also will dance. Like I'll talk a little bit about that in the driving segment. But still, really, really comfortable interior. You have an auto off start stop engine thing that's just super annoying. There's some cars that you can get away with it and they're like smooth. The Kia Soul just isn't. I would turn it off. I always turn it off. You got your rear view camera, which is very nice as well. It's high quality. Everything in the interior is pretty high quality for the price point you're in. I think I have to stress that because it's not crazy. Not all the buttons are the most nice feeling in the world, but the fact that it is cheap and it is loaded to the teeth is a huge, huge plus for the Kia Soul, and I think that's why it's going to sell despite maybe people thinking the design isn't the greatest in the world. You'll get your powered seats on the driver and passenger side, so that's nice too. They're not memory, but it doesn't matter. I find like the position that I sit in is like, I want it to go lower, but I couldn't. But the visibility either way is really good. The pillars here are very thin. Out to the left and to the right, I can see very well. No blind spots in this car at all. So very nice to have there. So this car has enough room in the rear. You can also see it has enough room here where my headspace is really good. It's the same story for the rear of the car. So if you're dealing with tall passengers, this way you're probably going to be okay. This way, you'll be all right. If you've ever driven a normal sedan, well, then you're going to know exactly how that feels. But it's nice that the rear has heated seats as well. Again, we don't see that on every model. We did see it on the Volkswagen a couple weeks ago, but we have it here on the Kia Soul, and it's nice to have. I don't really care about ventilated seats in the rear. To me, it's useless, but heated seats, especially in the Canadian winter, very, very important. And so you've got 4 heated seats in here, your standard cup holders in the back, everything that you would want in a car, in a crossover SUV. Kia's got it covered there. So let's take a look now at how it drives on the road. All right, on the road with the 2023 Kia Soul non-EV. So this is the normal version, the normal gas-powered version, and I guess I'll start with talking about fuel consumption. So I've been driving this car the entire week to work, to everywhere, city and highway combined. I am right now sitting at about an average of 7.6 liters per 100 kilometers, and that's, you know, pretty good. It's not as good as my Elantra is, but it's also not terrible because the car is a little bit heavy, a little bit more weight to carry around, so I understand that, yes, we're going to have a little bit more fuel consumption on this side of the car, but it's fine. And I don't think it's going to cost that much to fill up either. Gas prices aren't great, but still, that's pretty good. There is no eco mode on this car, so you only got your normal and sport, so I have to assume that the normal mode kind of incorporates what you need. It's more maybe like a dynamic mode where if I'm not actually using too much gas, well, then it'll kind of lower the engine power. Again, like we said in the beginning, the engine power isn't great. It isn't really anything to brag about, but again, I don't really think you care about that because it's not meant to be a sport SUV or crossover SUV. It's just meant to be a normal everyday driver. So you don't really care about the fact that you're not going to be able to do, 0 to 60 in 4 seconds. It's really not important. But talking about performance, well, the handling is as you'd expect. Like I said, it's not a sport SUV really, because I mean, yes, it does look a little bit sporty on the exterior. Like we said, it's an interesting look, like we said, but your steering is, kind of dead. There's really not a lot of feedback from it. Especially in the winter, we had like a big snowstorm. I want to say like this pretty recently actually. So the aftermath. Currently, you're probably seeing these big snowbanks right outside the window there, and then that's the aftermath of all this snow we've been having. So I didn't really drive in the peak of the snowstorm, but I drove the day after, and in a lot of heavy snow, this car is really going to depend on your snow tires. If you got good snow tires, you should be fine. You're not going to slip too much. I found like under turning and stuff, I got a lot of understeer, and I was like kind of sliding sideways a little bit more than I like to. Like the snow was able to kind of pull me around a bit more. I wasn't expecting it because the car feels a bit heavier, and it definitely drives like kind of like a cubed car, like a box car with the body roll and stuff like that. But it's not terrible. Like, it's definitely doable. You'll survive every winter in this car, like no problem at all. So that's good news. So we did mention that there is a digital center gauge cluster here, and there's not really any issues with it per se, just the fact that it's a little bit boring with a car with so much personality, especially when you look at the exterior. You know, I kind of expected a little bit more from at least the customization of the center gauge cluster here. Like, you know, you got, like, you can change the colors. There's like 3 different colors that you can go through, but there's really not that much info available like in the center of it, and I can't change what's on the 2 sides. It's either I can't or I've never found the option to do it, because there's quite a bit of settings in this infotainment. But it just kind of overall, I want to say, on the more boring side, and it's unfortunate because this is a crossover SUV with a little bit of personality to it, and it just doesn't show that, at least on this side, at least on that side of it. Everywhere else is pretty good. Now, I did mention that, I mean, it isn't a performance car, but I can do a little quick performance test here for you if the roads aren't too bad. So I'm just going to kind of go slow and then I'll punch it. I am in sport mode because it's the only other available drive mode in this car. But as you'll see, I will punch it full power. And okay, we're almost there. That's 100. So no wheel spin, but a whole bunch of lag. This, you know, like I said, it's not really a turbocharged engine. There's no special, you know, specs or anything, so that's what you get. It has no problem getting up to speed. I've never had the issue of like passing slower traffic or anything like that, so you'll be fine there. But it's just not gonna, you know, knock your socks off in the terms of performance. But again, it's meant to be used, not driven, I want to say, irresponsibly. There's also another interesting feature that the car comes with. It has a little bit of ambient lighting, and that ambient lighting can actually dance to the music. You can have different settings that you could set it to different color waves that it'll do, and I think it's done that in the past. It's definitely not a new feature for the Kia Soul, but I like that it's still there. It's like a fun thing. Again, it gives the car personality, which I like. I enjoy that. So no bother there. It's fun driving at night. Like, the driver's side, I noticed, doesn't really light up that much. It's kind of more dim. I guess that's to not distract the driver. But over in the corner of your eye, you can kind of see a light show going on if you don't have a passenger with you. So it's cool. And it's also cool for the passengers to see that as well. This does have the Harman Kardon sound system in it, which is nice. It isn't the greatest sound system in the world. It's definitely not the best I've heard. I could never seem to get the tuning right. That's probably more of a me thing than the actual vehicle thing, but I found that I really had to crank the volume to get the desired like level of bass that I wanted. It was never like kind of been able to do that at a low volume, which was a little bit unfortunate, but you know, not a big deal. You do need the upgraded sound system though, I think, because any lower than this, I think it's just going to be pretty bad, honestly. But overall ride quality, and another thing, the cabin isolation, the noise isolation in the cabin has been quite good. Usually, like, Hyundai Kias, they're not always the greatest thing at doing that. I know my car and also my wife's car is very noisy on the road. You hear a little bit of the tires going at high speed. Like right now I'm at about 80, but it's pretty quiet. And I'm sure, hopefully you can hear that in the video, how quiet it is. And that's surprising because, you know, it's not an EV, so there is engine noise, but, you know, I mean, this car isn't going to backfire on you or anything, but still, it's really quiet, so that's nice too. And it's comfortable, right? It's not like premium SUV comfort level, but it's also not like you're driving a sedan. It handles a bit like you're driving like a mid-tier sedan, but it doesn't like feel like that. So like when you go over big bumps in these, you know, terrible garbage Quebec roads, well, it's actually not that bad. It's a nice ride quality. It's good enough to do a road trip. You got your heated seats in the back, super important. Heated steering wheel. Thank you, Kia. Surprisingly, this is the first car in 2 weeks that has heated steering, and it's the cheapest on that list. You know, we had the Mercedes, then we had the Volkswagen, and this is cheaper than both of those by quite a margin. And the fact that it has heated steering, ventilated seats, you really get everything in this trim level in this car. You know, that's why I think I'd recommend getting the GT line of the Kia Soul, just because you're going to get all these features at such a good price point. Yes, it's a bit, people could say whatever you want about it. You know, it's an interesting design. That's what I'll say about it. It is an interesting design. Personally, not my style, but there is a huge community of Kia Soul owners. I pull up to a stop sign, like, you know, half of the week I'm pulling up to the stop sign and I'm seeing like 6 other Kia Souls with me. It's insane here in Quebec, and it's all different models, and it kind of allowed me to see the differences in, you know, the design change and kind of the interior. If you're kind of close enough to look into somebody else's car, trust me, I'm not a creep, I'm just doing my research. So if you see me looking into your Kia Soul, it's for research purposes only. But that being said, there's a huge community for these cars. And I mean, rightfully so, because you're getting so much for so little. And this is probably one of the vehicles that does it the best, right? It's a little bit strange. It's a little bit interesting. You got like these circles, and the outside's like a cube, and it's interesting. People will call it a toaster. People will call it a shoebox, but who cares? You know, if you're interested in the car, I don't think you should be faulted for that, and that's fine. There's, like I said, massive community for the Kia Soul, and it just goes to show that you don't have to do what every other automaker is doing and make a normal crossover SUV. I mean, Kia does do that, but they've proven with the Kia Soul that you don't need to do it. It's not a necessity. It could still sell well. I mean, the Kia Soul's been around forever, and they're still updating it. They've got an electric version of it, so it tells you that Kia's committed, and they must be selling well if that's the case. Otherwise, Kia would pull it off the market, like the Stinger, and that is a whole other video when we come to the Kia Stinger. But hopefully, we will get to it. But it just goes to show that you don't have to be like everybody else, and you can still have a really well-selling car, and you can pack the car full of features, and it doesn't have to cost you $60,000. But I think for the 2023 Kia Soul, I'll leave it there. I really see this as, you know, your car that you get that is just fully loaded. It's got everything you would need and kind of everything you would want, except for the four-wheel drive in the winter. I mean, maybe that, you know, you want that. And I know the one that Niall looked at in 2020 had a heads-up display, and they don't have that anymore, which is strange. And I wish that for the Max line of the Kia, they gave us at least a turbocharged engine. Would have been nice, but they didn't. And this is where we are for 2023. So, I mean, I wouldn't personally, I'm not gonna buy this car. I don't find the design as terrible as I thought it would. It's definitely improved levels over the years, so that's great news. But I would probably go with the EV version of this, just because we're all gonna be driving electric vehicles. We might as well get used to it and adjust our lifestyle accordingly until then. But, you know, overall, this is a really great car with a whole bunch of features. It's an interesting look. It's got personalities in this color. It's turning heads. So, I mean, why not? You know, who's gonna say otherwise? If you like the car, you like the car, and nobody should judge you for that, and that's great. So I'll leave it right there. The Kia Soul 2023 has been actually a good drive. I really don't have a lot of bad things to say about it, you know, other than the points that I mentioned, but those are minute things. It's not a big deal. So with that being said, I hope that you've enjoyed the video. I hope that we've helped you, give you a little bit of insight on the 2023 Kia Soul. If you have a Kia Soul, any version, let us know. I know there's that Kia Soul community, and I want to hear your guys' opinions on this car. I want to know what it's like for you living with this car every single day. And if you check our link in the description, we have a new wallet that Niall's been trying out for the past couple weeks. It's called the Esker wallet. I think that's how you say it. Sorry if I butcher the name, but if you use code Niall, you'll get 5% off your order. And it's great. It helps us produce PRN, and it also gets you 5% off your order. It's the best deal ever. So go ahead and check that out. Links in the description for that. So with all that being said, all that stuff out of the way, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope we've helped you make a decision. Let us know what you think in the comments. Leave a like, subscribe if you're new here. You can find me at Technically Cars on any social media platform. I'm pretty much everywhere. Follow me. Tell me what you think. And, you know, let me know if you drive a Kia Soul or you're in the market for a Kia Soul. And I hope you enjoyed the video. And we will see you next time. Thanks for watching, and take care.